Okay. Yeah, good afternoon or good morning, depending on where you are. My name is Miriam Maliso from the Race Center, and I welcome you to this webinar, Creating Content, How to Engage Youth and Families, presented by Katy Albert she's from Blender Inc. She's the Vice President, and Erin Thompson, Youth Advocate for Change and Community Consultant. Next slide. All right, I'm gonna guide you on how to use the features. Some of the features that Zoom offers. We have a closed caption here, and what you have to do is click on it says CC, and click, that's the caption button. You click over there, and it will appear on your screen. And we also have interpretación para el español. We have interpretation to Spanish. Para acceder al canal en español, van a ver en la banda o cinta negra un globo que indica Interpretation. Hagan clic allí, luego seleccionan español y oprimen donde dice Mute Original Audio. Esto último filtra completamente la presentación en inglés para que puedan escuchar con claridad a nuestro intérprete de hoy, Guillermo Cordero. We also have American Sign Language, and we have Kathy, our interpreter. And to see that, you need to pin her name and hover over the video, and you click that. You see the 3 dots. You click over there, and you pin our interpreter, which is Kathy. And next slide.
All right, hello. This is where I step in. My name is Katy Albert, and thank you for the introduction. It's a fun session today with Katy, the presenter, and Kathy, the ASL interpreter. Glad to have you with us, Kathy. Thank you. Also joining us, as she mentioned, is Erin Thompson. Erin, I'm going to let you say hi quickly before I introduce myself and Blender. Erin is graciously giving us a little bit of her time before she has to step away for another meeting, although we will be seeing Erin again later in a pre-recorded video session at the end. But Erin, I'd love it if you could say hello.
Yeah, hi, I'm Erin. As the introduction was said, I belong to the YAFC. I've been, a huge fan of social media and communications for a while, as well as that intersection with disability. And so I'm super happy to be here and share some of my insights.
Yeah, thank you, Erin. To introduce myself, I am Katy Albert, the Vice President and Chief Operations Officer at Blender Inc. I graduated from Point Park University with a degree in PR and advertising. I am a Hootsuite certified social media manager with going on a decade of experience. And I have a real passion for helping others use social media for good. Blender was started in 2014 to do the same thing, to do good work for organizations who do good works. We are the home of bold ideas, smart strategies, and people who love what they do. Blender works with some of our region's leading nonprofits, along with education and human service entities. Through communication, messaging, social media, graphic design, website creation, and more, we build marketing campaigns and play just a small role in helping people across our region live better lives. I'd like to tell you first a little bit about United Way's #IWannaWork campaign. In 2017, Blender was honored with a PRSA Renaissance Award for United Way's #IWannaWork campaign. #IWannaWork is a social media self-advocacy campaign that empowers young adults throughout the Commonwealth to meet with their legislator, take a selfie. You can see the examples of some of those here, and then share those selfies to social media as a means not only of thanking their representative, but also as proof of that meeting, and a way to show, that legislators were devoted to this good work. You can, of course, follow both United Way of Southwestern Pennsylvania and hashtag I Want to Work on social media, and I'd encourage you to do so. I am also a returning presenter for the Raise Center. Our first session in February, a little earlier this year, was on connection and community, a social media guide to enhance engagement. Now, in this session, we did a deep dive on the big 6 social media platforms, those being Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, Snapchat, and TikTok. So if you'd like to review that session or learn a little bit more, you can find that on the Raise Center's YouTube channel. This is what that looks like. So I'd like to, ground this conversation in a little bit of social media by the numbers. Here we are in 2022. There are currently 4.2 billion social media users worldwide. The average user in the United States spends about 2 hours on social media every day, although the average teenager spends closer to 3 or 9 hours, which if you have or know a teenager may not be as surprising to you. The average adult spends spends 35 minutes per channel per day. So 2 hours total a day, about a half an hour per channel that person uses. And we see Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok being the top 3 channels where people are spending the most time. So there's certainly a lot of opportunity to reach people on social media. It's where they're spending a lot of their time. So why might somebody use social media? Some of the top reported reasons are to keep up with current events, to stay in touch with friends and family, to find entertainment, to network with others, and to share experiences, things that are happening in their personal or professional lives. Now, the core function of any social media network is to engage. It's the social part of social media. So liking, commenting, sharing, having that discussion and connection. I always want to emphasize that because there's a big misperception that you can just be posting on social, putting things out and expecting people to find and engage. But, it really is just as important for you to be commenting, liking, and sharing. So we're going to talk now a little bit more specifically about what makes an engaging social media post. And I also just wanted to say briefly, I'll be taking some time for questions at the end of the presentation. So there is a Q&A feature. We have a chat. If there's anything you'd like clarified or to talk about a little bit more, just go ahead and submit your question in the chat, and I'll get through as many of them as I can at the end of the presentation. So the elements for an engaging post. I have broken it down into these kind of 5 pillars to create an engaging post. The first is to create a strong introductory hook, something that's going to grab people's attention. Second is informative copy. Are you telling everyone what they need to know? A call to action. Are you asking your audience to sign up, to share? a clear visual. That may be a photo or a link, but you want to make sure it's something, visually clear and attractive. And fifth is an operational link, something, a hyperlink to a web page or, somewhere. We just want to make sure anywhere we are sending somebody works. So we're going to talk through each of these in a little bit more detail here. So creating a hook. I mentioned specifically something attention grabbing. Now that could be something like a question, or, a piece of data. We'll see something, attention parents, or, something, maybe it starts out with an emoji, an exclamation point, something that draws you in. Now thinking data driven, that could be a statistic. Did you know only 20% of young adults with disabilities have a job upon graduation? Something that makes someone stop and say, wow, I didn't know that. What else do you have to share with me? We also want to ensure appropriate tone here. Thinking about the work that you all so frequently do, you want to make sure that just because we want to grab someone's attention or, make that post interesting, you want to make sure that you're following that up with, something appropriate. So if it's, attention parents of children with disabilities, today you can sign this petition, so making sure that if it's something that we are raising that level of urgency, that it's, worthy of that response. For example, if you have a big attention grabbing opening and then you don't really have an important piece of news to share, people then won't pay attention when you do have something you need to activate them on. So creating a hook is all about something that grabs the audience's attention and has, a little bit of meaning behind it. When we talk about writing informative copy, why? What's the purpose of your post? If you're promoting an event, you want to make sure that you have the date, the time, the location. If it's on or offline, you want to make sure that if someone only interacts with that one social media post, they have all of the most important information. That can also include tagging any partners, or for example, if you're asking your audience to write to their legislator, tagging the legislator in that post is a great way, and it makes it easy for your audience to go directly from that social media post to the legislator's page, where they can then, create a post or comment. Also using any hashtags, that's a great way not only to join conversations that are happening, nationally and globally, but also to, help your audience learn what hashtags and language they should be using. I think, we're all familiar with National Disability Employment Awareness Month in October, hashtag NDEEM. So that's a great way, during the month of October, everyone who works in disability employment is going to be utilizing that hashtag. If there is a name of the initiative that you're working on, as we talked earlier about United Way's hashtag I Want to Work campaign, the hashtag became something so notable. It's not only the name of the campaign, it's now an archive. If you look at that hashtag, you instantly get all of the activity and the photos. And you can see right away how many people are passionate about that issue. So, making sure that you include the why, all of your details, tag your partners, and also include any hashtags or other things that are going to help more people see your social media post. Including a call to action. A call to action, or a CTA, is anytime you are giving your audience a direct activity you want them to do as a result of your post. So if you're sharing an article or a blog post, maybe that your organization has written, the call to action could be read more. So you're driving clicks to the website. If it's an event, you want people to sign up or RSVP. If it's a video, you may encourage them to watch now. Of course, make a donation is one I think we're all more familiar with. But two that are more directly tied to social media engagement are encouraging people to comment. Share your experience, with us below. Let's have a conversation. Share resources. Share this post with somebody who could use it. So not only thinking, what's beneficial for us, the person who created the post, but how can we use those call to action to start conversations, to create those social opportunities on social media. Using a clear visual. So when you see a post, if that's a Facebook post, something on Twitter or Instagram, all of the channels place a lot of importance on the visual nature of the post. Instagram used to be an app that was entirely based on photo. Now they're using a little bit more video assets, but something that's true across the board is that all posts perform better when they have a photo or a link that has a nice visual attached to it. So that means a high resolution, good quality image. And that doesn't just mean a photo. There are a lot of really great tools that you can use. Canva, Hootsuite, a lot of those content creation platforms have free tools that you can trial to see if it's something you're comfortable with. Taking the additional time to size an image to work best on that channel, or to look through your archives and pull a photo of people talking at an event, or someone giving a presentation, using assets that belong to you and your organization. They help your content stand out because it's an image that belongs to you. Nobody else is using it. But it also really does make a difference in how Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, on where they place your content. So images with faces do perform best. Although if it is something that's, has text on it, that usually performs well. But we do advise avoiding posting something that's too text heavy. So for example, if you've made a flyer for your event, an 8x10, something that, you had printed and would pass out, it's really easy to want to make that a PDF and post it on social media. But if you take the time to, create an image based on that flyer that maybe just has the headline of your event, you can then include more information in your post copy. This is also a recommendation when we think about assistive technology or screen readers. If you upload a PDF or a JPEG of a flyer and don't take the time to include the alt text or include all of the information in the post copy, people, who are using those screen readers or assistive technology, they're not going to be able to access the information about your event. So, not only does being thoughtful about the visual appearance and the text of your post, it's not only going to help your post perform better, but it's also going to help people engage with your audience better. And the final of these that we're going to go through today may seem really easy and may seem like something that doesn't need to be said. But I clicked on a link on a Facebook post this morning that didn't work. So we always say double, even triple check the URL. And a URL is, of course, the web address, the link to anywhere you're sending your audience. So for example, if you are going to issue a Facebook post, go ahead, maybe the link is going to populate as the attachment. So that's where I say, examine the pre-populated link. Is it going to the right place? Is the headline correct? Does the image look good? In some cases, you may be able to change the image, or if the pre-populated link doesn't look the way you want it to, you can choose another image, and just include the link in your copy. So making, all of these decisions at the time when you go to publish the post can help you with some of these headaches later. As a social media manager, I personally dread I clicked this link and it didn't work. Because sometimes you may only have one opportunity to get someone to complete that call to action that we talked about earlier. If we're asking them to go here and sign a petition and they go there and it doesn't work, we've lost a little bit of our trustworthiness. Maybe the next time we share something, they'll say, well, that didn't work last time, so I don't know if that's safe. So always thinking, especially when we're working, with these kind of policy issues or things that may feel, more sensitive, we want to make sure that all of the links are working, include the link in the copy instead, if necessary. And if you are taking a step to use a shortened link, because as we all know, especially some of these like state legislative websites can just be hundreds of characters long and very ugly. You can make a bit.ly or another shortened link. Those are fantastic. They certainly make your copy much more visually appealing, but that's another step. If you're taking that, you just want to double check that the bit.ly is correct, that you've copied the whole bit.ly or the whole link. So I will put down the stick. I think we've made the point, but just at every intersection, make sure that you're checking that that link is operational. So we have gone over, what makes an engaging post. So I wanted to share with you an example. Here we have a Facebook post from United Way's I Want to Work. And in this example, it is promoting an event. So we can see there, we have a hook announcement. Join us. So right away you've seen, oh, I got to pay attention. They need me to be somewhere. So we then go on to include informative copy. Join us on May 24th or May 25th. It looks like we had an English and a Spanish opportunity at noon with these partners to learn about this and this, click the link below to register. So that's a hook, informative copy, and a really clear call to action. So we then look at the visual. We've got a headline, a date and time. We've got some partner logos, but you can see that, whoops, that image, makes it very clear to see what the information is. The link is operational. I did test it before I took a screenshot of it, and it takes us to the Eventbrite to register. So you can see here, it's the same headline. This is an example of a great and engaging post. I also wanted to recap a couple of best practices just for social media in general, because you can, create engaging content. And if you're not, kind of thinking about the full suite of best practices for social, you still may not see those strong results. So the first best practice is to post regularly. Most of the social media platforms recommend posting 3 to 5 times a week at minimum. But we always encourage people and organizations to think about what works for you and what is it that you can commit to. So if your team can commit to 3 posts a week, that's great. Let that be your regular schedule. As long as your audience and the social network, kind of knows what to anticipate from you, that's a great place to start. You also want to be monitoring any of your channel analytics. So as you are, sharing resources or inviting people to events, take note of what performs well. Maybe your audience really needs tools. Tell me what to do, what to share. Or maybe they like receiving news updates. That is going to be different for every channel and every audience. And you'll only know what's performing well if you, do the work of looking back. So again, if that's an annual review or every 6 months, analytics are something that take a little bit of time to populate. So don't post something on Monday and call it a failure on Wednesday. Give things a little bit of time before you make those assessments. Throughout the conversation, I mentioned a couple of social media tools. If that's Hootsuite, Canva, Sprout Social, Loomly, Buffer, there are so many recording platforms. You can schedule, you can do those analytic deep dives. Some of them do have free tools. Other offer, different priced packages. So some of those tools, even in channel, Facebook and Twitter both offer the capability to schedule content. So, take a look, know what's available to you and kind of see how that can help your content strategy. Also following any trends. If you are a user of Instagram Reels or TikTok, those trending audios can come and go in a day, or maybe they last for a week or two. So certainly, any trending topics of conversation, if you have the opportunity to join in on any of those, it requires a little bit of quick thinking and some agility in your social media strategy. But, follow those trends, try your hand at what's working for other people. And as we also talked about, engage. Be an active participant on social media. No one wants to be, standing at the party by themselves. So comment, like, share, not only as yourselves, but as your organizations. It's valid to take a half an hour, a week or more, and just scroll through your organization's news feed, like things, see what your partners and your competitors are doing. Social media is really one of the rare industries that changes almost hourly, all of the time. I'm sure by the time I finish my career, people will think, oh my goodness, Facebook, the way that we all kind of laugh now and think about MySpace or Friendster. So, social media is ever changing, and it is something that, you'll need to constantly learn and evolve. Briefly, I won't read through all of these, but a couple of the best channels for building awareness are Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Educating, again, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, advertising events on Facebook or Twitter. The live event channels you'll see don't include Facebook and LinkedIn. Activating audiences are some of the three that we've discussed today: Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. So, when you think, okay, we have an event to promote, where is my audience going to best engage with that? Or, oh, we're attending a conference, I should do a little bit of live tweeting. You don't have to do everything on every channel, which should be a relief. And kind of think about, based on what you're trying to accomplish, where is your audience going to be most accepting of that information? So we are now going to transition. I'm not quite sure if Erin's here or if she's had to step away, but we are now going to go into the Q&A with Erin Thompson, Youth Advocate for Change Committee member and a talented communications specialist. So this is a pre-recorded session between Erin and I. So I'm going to go ahead and hand the metaphorical mic to last Friday, Katy. Hello, everybody. We have had an outfit change, and we are here to do the Q&A portion. Just kidding, of course. As you know from the top of the call, Erin had to step away for some important work. So we are actually having this little conversation on the Friday morning before the webinar. So thanks, Erin, for taking the time to chat with me.
Yeah, of course. I'm glad we can make it work.
Yeah. So as you all know by now, Erin Thompson is the Youth Advocate for Change Committee member, and she is also a talented communications specialist. So we have had a great conversation so far about, how to create engaging social media content. But of course, Erin, as a creator of that content and as also a consumer of social media content, wanted to have a conversation with you, so you can kind of talk a little bit more about some of those things that people should be thinking about when they create their social content. Yeah,
for sure. Do you want me to just jump right into it then and get started?
Yeah, you want to give a little intro and then I can hop into the questions?
For sure. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, as a younger person, I grew up with social media, and I definitely have that background where it's just been part of my daily life. And, kind of with my journalism background, I kind of have that unique perspective of, creating a story with social media. And I think that's a really good perspective to look at, is social media can be used to tell a story. And so just about any organization can do that.
Yeah, absolutely right. So we have just a little short list of questions for you. And then of course, we'll be doing a little Q&A with the audience after. And then if there's anything that anyone wants to ask specifically of Erin, you can reach out following the presentation and we'll be happy to chat with you a little more.
Yeah.
So first off, Erin, can you tell me a little bit about what grabs your attention on social media?
Yeah, I would say, one of the biggest things that grabs my attention is something that aligns with my personal beliefs. And I think that's, one of the main points that we think about when it comes to social media is just the idea of, what is our audience? What do they want? Because I'm not going to seek something out that I don't want to see. And so kind of making things that, people want to see and that they believe in. And so, I follow accounts that I want to be seeing on my feed and it's my choice. And so you want to make sure that, you're creating these posts that, are going to be visually aligning as well as, a story that aligns with that as well. And so kind of connecting the two can be really important depending on the platform, especially. And so if you're talking about Instagram, sometimes that image can be the most attention grabbing. And so what I like to see as well is, people that can represent me. So I like seeing people with disabilities. I like seeing people of more diverse backgrounds, and I want to see that a little bit more. And also what we've been seeing quite a bit is a lot of video use. And I know that can be pretty intimidating for a lot of people, but it can take, maybe 10 minutes to think of a really good idea. I one time, sat down and created a TikTok video that took, I think less than 5 minutes, and, it had thousands of views and people loved it. And so it's like, just think of those like shorter things that you can do and kind of jump on some of those more viral trends, and it can really go a long way. And it also kind of shows that, these organizations are made up of real people. And if you're able to translate that to your audience, we want to see real people and not just this like mechanical inner workings of an organization. It's not realistic.
I love what you said there about spontaneity. Like it can't always be planned out. Like a trend is going to come up and then it might be gone tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly.
So you mentioned a little bit, like having a photo or a video, kind of whatever's appropriate, for that channel. Let's talk a little bit about those elements that a post needs, specifically to engage a younger audience.
Yeah, I would say, all of our attention spans are very short, but when it comes to even younger people, it's even shorter. And so, we're seeing a lot of things like with, TikTok has definitely taken over a lot of that, but also you don't need a TikTok to kind of jump on that. And so you could make those shorter videos and have a similar theme to your videos, but you could still only have Instagram or Facebook because they have very similar inner workings. And so when I think about social media and managing social media, we only have so much time in a day. And so if you're thinking about, I only want to, have the time commitment to do those 2 social channels, you can think creatively about how can I do that to maximize our reach and, talking to our audience, but also like knowing that you are, kind of on a limited time schedule. And so I think thinking through that can be really flexible and not always flexible. That was not the way to phrase it, but it can be a little bit more of an advantage on your end as well as your audiences. And so when I'm thinking about reaching kind of that younger audience, some of those things I think of is, you want to think from their perspective. And once again, I always go back to what is that group of people, for the most part, everyone can be different, but for the most part, what do they believe in? And especially when it comes to current events, because that can definitely guide what people are interested in. And so when I think about like what I'm scheduling, there's like the posts that are planned out, stuff that I could schedule maybe even 3 weeks in advance. Say there's an event coming up, what the event is, great, post it. But then there's things that can happen day of, and some of those day of posts, you're, you got to make it, you got to put it out that same day or even the next day. And that's fine, but as long as you kind of have that difference, and sometimes, once again, that spontaneity can really reach a lot more people because you're jumping on some of those more, not only current trends, but current events that can affect people's lives dramatically.
Yeah, and that feels really authentic, like when you follow a brand, or an organization and they're commenting on something that's happening or being involved. At least for me, I'm like, wow, they're paying attention. They're listening and seeing what's happening.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think that's a really great perspective because, social listening is definitely a huge aspect to, social media. And when you think about so many current events, I mean, we can think of a million things. There's wars and shootings and, different politics happening. And so if you're able to create some of that social listening and that interaction with your audience, they are going to believe you a lot more and they're going to see you as a real person in a group. And so that can go a long way.
Yeah, and specifically, in the work that we do and that you all do every day, you frequently have a call to action for folks. When something is happening, when there's, discourse with a piece of legislation, in the work that we all do, you have the opportunity to say, read this, share now, contact your legislator. The power you have in moments like that to activate people is huge. And I think sometimes a lot of folks spend so much time thinking and overthinking what to say that you actually lose the opportunity to be a part of the conversation.
Yeah. Action items are a really big one.
Yeah, definitely. So, we have mentioned a little bit, different audiences, if it's a person with a disability or their parents, their family, a legislator, how and why is it important to, think about those audiences and shape that content for them? I mean, we just talked about action items. Those are different for every audience.
Yeah. And the best way I kind of think about this is if you're having a conversation, you will probably sound a little bit different in each conversation, depending on the person you're talking to. So let's say you're talking to your boss compared to, a best friend. Those are going to be very different conversations. And so if you have an audience in mind of who you're talking to, they're going to sound different. And so if we want to use a couple of the examples that were just mentioned, if you're talking to parents, most likely, depending on the topic, it could be a little bit more formal, could be a little bit more informational. But for youth, let's say, it can be a little bit more fun, like you want to grab their attention. It can't always be formal because let's be honest, people who are younger, and we can say like high school students, for example, they're not going to be interested in reading about legislation necessarily. But they could be really interested in knowing about how this impacts them and how it impacts their friends or their community. And that can go a lot longer than saying, here's all this technical stuff, try to figure it out. Because I know when it comes to, a lot of youth with disabilities, we are met with that at a very young age. And so we are kind of maneuvering this world of understanding Social Security, understanding healthcare, and all of that is very complicated. So if there's organizations that can kind of break that down for us and say, we know that things can be very complicated for you, but let's take a step back and really, know how this impacts you without you having to take that extra time to understand it. And I think that can go, in a lot of different directions. And also like some of that information can also be translated to other groups of people. And so when I think about creating some of that content, they can all have very similar themes and outcomes as far as what you want people to do. But just thinking about, if I were to be sitting in the same room as a high schooler compared to, let's say, a superintendent of a school, think about how you would talk to that person. Think about how, you might kind of in a way, kind of decide on what you want to explain a little bit further compared to what you could maybe go at a higher level. And so thinking about from that perspective can really be a great way to think about, copy as well as what's being used as far as imagery.
I like the way you talk about, taking a piece of information and shaping it for different audiences. And if you think about that kind of even by channel, maybe on your Facebook post, you certainly have a lot, more real estate. You can attach images in some groups, you can even share files, link out to more information. That's kind of a great place for that longer form, more details. But you could also take that same information and make it a reel on Instagram, that's like the 6 things you need to know about this, and in the same, you're delivering similar information, just in a way that that different audience can understand and wants to engage with it.
Yeah, exactly.
So we've talked about, what makes good engaging social content. What are some mistakes that you have seen organizations make? What are some things we want to stay away from?
Yeah, I think the first thing that comes to mind is, social media is being produced by people and people make mistakes. And so I think the number one thing is that if there were to be a mistake, and there probably will be, the best thing is to just own up to it. And I think, we've all seen some sort of organization to make a major mistake. The first one that comes to mind, I don't know why, but Kim Kardashian came out with Skims. But before they had the name Skims, it was called Kimono. And so that was cultural appropriation. And so they had to rethink, like, how are we going to do this differently? And we have to own up to the mistake that we made. And we need to say that, we're really sorry and we're consulting with different people. And so they owned up to that mistake. And they said, you know what, moving forward, like, we really got to take this seriously. And so when you're thinking about your social strategy, there might not be a time where you have the resources or the time to do things the best that you possibly could be. And, hindsight is always 20/20, but you always have to say, we're sorry we made that mistake and we're going to do better. And here's how we're doing that. And I think, especially in the last couple of years, people, especially with COVID and the pandemic, people have really started to realize what's important to them. What do I believe in? What do we want to see in the world? And so if you're able to be very upfront and have that conversation, once again, it's just being about being a real person in a real organization. And so if you're able to own up to that, I think that's a really great thing. And so that's kind of like, I don't want to say philosophical, but it's a kind of a big idea. And I think, it's something we need to really consider. But then there's kind of some of the more, smaller things. And I think of, you always want to make sure that what you're doing the action item about, that it actually works. So if you're asking someone, hey, check out this amazing new product we made, and it's so fantastic, and it's completely free today or whatever, well, you need to actually link to the item, because if you don't do that, people are going to complain. And so that's a really big thing. And I think another mistake that people can do is that, we now live in a world where there's a lot of ways to schedule posts, which is really great for us, as well as keeping up with your audience. But we also sometimes have to take a step back and think about, great, we're posting, but also we do need to be interacting, and social media was created as a way to network with people, as a way to connect with people. And if we're just doing it from kind of like a high tower, posting these things out to people, but not actually interacting with the people, once again, it doesn't feel personable. It just feels like it's a machine, and it's not just a machine. And so if you can always take a step back and think about ways to work with people and be seen as a person, I think that can be a huge advantage.
That's so huge. And I kind of laugh because I tell people, like, are you the town crier? or are you hosting a party? You know what I mean? Like nobody is answering the town crier. They're just yelling things out into the darkness. But you know, it is so important. It is that social media, you know, it's in the name. It's implied that we're supposed to be having conversations, answering people. So I think that's so critical what you just mentioned, not only scheduling things and posting, comment on other people's posts, you know, be engaging. That's how you're going to see people engage with your content. So I retweet that.
Perfect.
So is there anything else, you know, on your mind or anything else that you would like to, you know, kind of leave the group with?
Boy, that's a big question. Yeah, I mean, throughout the whole, you know, Q&A, I kind of, you know, in general, I have a pretty standout theme. And I think it's just, you know, like I just said, that social media is made to be social. It's a way to connect. It's a way to network. And so just thinking of it as less of this machine that you're constantly feeding and keeping up with, think of it as an opportunity to like meet new people. Think of it as almost like a little mixer where you can maybe find out some new things. You can, you know, expand, you know, your network and your organization's reach. And I think if we think of it more as this interaction and bring it back to more of a conversation, I think that, you know, it can be more refreshing instead of something that just needs to be done.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Well, if you have any additional questions or anything for Erin, you can, you know, reach out following, and we're going to go ahead and move on to the live Q&A portion of this afternoon's presentation. So thank you so much, Erin.
Yeah, thank you.
Yay, wonderful break from speaking and to hear that good conversation with Erin and, you know, her really good thoughts and insights there. You can see me getting a little bit excited when she herself brought up some of the things that I had talked about earlier. So we have a couple of minutes left here. So I saw there's have been some activity in the Q&A. So if we have anything anyone wants to ask or talk about, we can go ahead and spend a little bit of time doing that now.
Hi, Katie, it's Lauren. We have a question here. How do we engage youth in reposting our content? Some youth have many followers and they have a credibility in the youth world.
Yes. And there are kind of two ways that I would encourage that. The first is, you know, within the copy, you know, saying, hey, you know, share this with your, you know, with your audience in a group that you're in with your friends. You know, that's kind of a more natural, easy way to do it. The second way, which is actually where I find more success, is directly asking, you know, identifying who those folks are and saying, hey, you are such a rock star. You know, people are listening to you. You have this great audience. You know, would you be willing to help us promote this or share this? And if you, you know, provide copy, make it really easy. We have had some success with like a brief social media toolkit. You know, a one-page document that includes exactly what you'd like them to do. You know, like us on social media, RSVP to the Facebook event, share this on your Twitter, making it really intentional, but always dressing it up in the, oh, you're so wonderful. We'd so appreciate your help. And of course, if you have a budget, a little bit of a financial incentive, a gift card, anything like that, of course, always helps.
Okay. If anybody has any questions for Katy, please type your question on the Q&A. Thank you.
And Katie, I just want to say, there were two thank yous. One says thank you for the guidance, and it was from Tiffany. And so, I told her, you're very welcome. That's what we're here for. And another one that said has been very informative, and I have a staff member. I'd like to view the recording. Will it be posted on your webpage or on YouTube? And I did post the link in the chat.
Oh, thank you so much, Lauren. And thank you very much for the kind words. I think that either my email and Erin's email may have been in the chat, or if you reach out, to Raise with any additional questions or anything, they'd also be happy, to connect you to myself and Erin.
Right. Yeah, we will have a survey popping up your screen as soon as the presentation is over. And also the recording and slides. The slides are already available on the website, and the record link will be available as soon as it is ready with Spanish version 2. So if you have any other questions for Katy, please feel free to raise your hand or type the question.
This is Lauren again. We have two thank yous. Thank you very much. This is great and very informative. Another one that was from Brandy, another one from Bob, very informative. I'll put this information to use almost immediately. Thank you. And a question from an anonymous attendee. If you could choose only one social media for a business to use, which one would you choose?
Oh, cut off one of my fingers. I would honestly say Facebook. It's got the largest saturation of use right now. And I'm thinking about like young people having a Facebook to be connected to family members. Facebook usage in people like 30 and up is highest. A lot of legislators are active on Facebook. So if you're making me choose one, I would say Facebook. Also, technically, Facebook and Instagram are owned by the same family company. So if I can cheat and say Meta, which means Facebook and Instagram, I would say that, but I would start with Facebook.
Thank you for that answer, Katy. That was really very strong answer.
So sorry.
No, it was good. It was really good. Yeah, Facebook or Meta is there.
Yeah,
Is the one
Meta.
to go. You have to choose one. Yes. It also depends on the audience, of course. But yeah, in general terms, absolutely, that's true. Okay. There's another question I think is different. Any suggestions for folks with a lot of social media white space on best practices for jumping into this fray?
Yeah. Be thoughtful of your strategy and of your time. So if you're considering joining the social media arena, think about why, what value you have to provide your audience, where it would make the most sense. Obviously I kind of gave the blanket answer of Facebook being a good place to start. But if you are exclusively looking to talk to teenagers, that answer might be Twitter or TikTok and Instagram. So first and foremost, I would say be really thoughtful about what you're hoping to accomplish, who will be managing those channels, and how much time they have to devote to it. In my opinion, one of the worst things an organization can do is create a platform on every social media network, become overwhelmed, and then have all of these kind of ghost accounts out there where maybe you've created it, but you're not active. So, be thoughtful and start with what, you can commit to.
Yeah, thank you. There's a question here, really interesting. How do you engage youth to post clean materials for their potential jobs and future?
So if to post their materials, like in terms of, and this someone may have to comment back, if that's like in terms of like promoting themselves to get a job. Maybe if you're the person who asked that question, jump into the chat with a little more.
Yeah.
There are two more quick questions. Why not use YouTube as a social media platform from Yvette? And how do you cut through Facebook clutter? I feel like the algorithm has pushed my organization way out of relevance.
Yep. Super quick. YouTube doesn't have, there's a comment section, but it's not quite as based in the interaction between users. So uploading content to YouTube, using that as a place for video. You could use YouTube Live to stream events. So a powerful platform, not necessarily as engagement focused. And then to the question about cutting through the clutter on Facebook, obeying those best practices, creating that engaging content, posting regularly, engaging with others. If you feel that you're doing all of that, do you have any budget that you could put towards a monthly boost or anything to kind of jumpstart your activity? Try to get some social media volunteers and advocates who can be sharing and engaging when you have those important posts. And send me an email if you want to talk more.
Yeah, this conversation is to be continued, I believe, right? This is yeah. Well, thank you so much to our audience and to the presenters. We have arrived to the conclusion. Time is gone. Time is limited. And yeah, please respond to the survey that will pop up quickly on your screen. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Kate.
Bye-bye.
Bye.